My name is Ernie Whitaker. My pronouns are I, me, he, him, she, her, we, they, us. Sometimes I even use Shakespearean pronouns, which are thee, thou, thy, thyself, and ye. I'm transgender, non-binary, gender conforming, gender fluid, just to name a few. As you all know, the trans movement is the fastest growing movement out there, so I figured, why not get involved in the ground level and use it to my advantage? For instance, whenever I'm late to work, which happens a lot, I'm not gonna lie, I just self-identify as trans late, not trans. Translate, not translate like the language translate, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That's someone who's late but identifies as being on time. I thought of that one myself.
I'm not gonna lie, it is challenging having somebody like Ernie in the office, but due to diversity requirements, we have to have he, him, she, her, we, they.
Don't forget about us.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And us in the office.
Around lunch.
There's simply more social safety nets afforded to women than there are men. Like, our society just generally likes women more than they like men. Like, only women and children are loved unconditionally. Men have to earn it. Like, men are not loved by society unless they provide certain kind of value. Generally in our society, women are praised, loved, adored, regardless of what they produce or provide. So in the case of homelessness, like if a man can't provide, well, sucks to be that guy. He should just work or work on himself. But if a woman can't provide for herself, how can we help her to make sure that she stays off the streets? That's generally the attitude people will have. And that's the attitude that our systems have.
You know, it has been a very long time since something I heard it genuinely blew my mind, but this got it, bruh. For those of you who don't know who this is Nora Vincent, the author of the book Self-Made Man. Now, she actually disguised herself as a man for 18 months. The goal was 2 years, but she only did 18 months to see what it was like to be a man. Now, she actually passed on not too long ago at the young age of 53 from assisted you-know-what. Now, David Erhan says this: woman who disguised herself as a man to find out how it is like to live as a man committed S due to the psychological scars of how difficult life was for a man. Nora Vincent, the author of Self-Made Man, has died by assisted S. Nora was a radical feminist who believed men lived on easy mode and tried to prove it by disguising herself as a man for 2 years. Instead, what she found out is men actually have it harder, and wrote a book about her experience. Now, this is the part that legitimately blew my mind. In fact, the experience was so bad she had to stop at 18 months because she started to hate. Dude, that's crazy, bro. Due to how bad all of them treated her when they believed she was a man, and was left with psychological scars that accompanied her all of her life. That is wild.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
In what sense is our society male-dominated? And a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
Men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. But that doesn't mean you should use it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. People who teach martial arts know this full well, right? If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously you learn to control it. Both of those come together. And the combination of that capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise, you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no, that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
I've got to wrap it up. I don't want to, but I have to. I want to ask you just quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. Now, what a terrible thing to do that is. Thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
Making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly, many young men are in that category.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing, I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.